All right, it is starting. Press the red button. Everyone's going crazy. Tokyo Game Show has started, and in come a flood of previews for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I've tried my best to go around to all of the different personalities and outlets to gather some information in regards to these previews, just to kind of condense them all into one video. So our sources are coming from IGN, Game Informer, Brad from the Easy Allies, Dengeki Online, and Maximilian Dude. He actually sat down with his chat last night and just went over a lot of the really cool stuff that he got to play with the TGS demo. It's the Sephiroth and Cloud stuff as well as Junon, and he gave a lot of valuable golden nuggets in regards to what we're seeing in this game. So if any of that sounds cool to you, feel free to click the like button. Let's be a little nicer to the subscribe button. We've been hitting it with all kinds of attacks. Let's do something nice and use a healing wind instead. Let's be nice to that subscribe button. So we gotta start off first with the bad news. And unfortunately, it's been confirmed that yes, Vincent as well as Sid will not be playable. They state that Vincent in particular will act like Red 13 did in Remake, and he won't join your party, but he will assist you. So unfortunately, we're not going to get our hands on either of those two characters, but on the plus side, maybe that'll mean that Vincent could get some DLC a la Yuffie. If there's any character in the Final Fantasy VII universe that should get a DLC dedicated to them, it's Vincent. His mythos and backstory are so interesting, and it's kind of a chance to do Dirge of Cerberus combat all over again, but better. And following Vincent's journey from his beginnings to how he ends up in the coffin could make for some really beefy DLC later down the line. Now let's get to the other parts of the preview. The biggest confirmation so far, yes, Sephiroth is indeed playable. So that first demo, the Cloud and Sephiroth Calm flashback, that's going to act as the game's tutorial. So you play as younger Cloud, air quotes, younger Cloud, Sephiroth. Sephiroth has been described from everybody as being super OP. And as far as his moveset goes, a lot of people have compared it to his moveset from the Dissidia games. So as someone who loves Dissidia, I think I'll be right at home with Sephiroth. He even has moves like, I think it's called Telephonic Fury and Hell's Gate. And he even has a special warp ability that allows him to warp to an enemy no matter where they're at. So in the demo, we see Cloud and Sephiroth fighting not the Materia Keeper. They changed his name to the Materia Guardian. And we see them doing all kinds of crazy abilities, the warp ability from Sephiroth and the double helix attack between Cloud and Sephiroth. So it looks pretty awesome. And it's nice to know that, yeah, Sephiroth is playable. All of his materia has been maxed out and he's incredibly powerful. Now, something that's also very interesting is that the developers have stated that Zack will in fact be playable in Rebirth, but the way they describe it is he will have his own episode in Rebirth, which is kind of weird language to use. I don't know if it's a translation thing, but I'm starting to wonder if Zack is going to kind of be like this game's Laguna, where primarily we're playing as Cloud and company, but every once in a while we'll jump on over to Zack's timeline to see what he's doing. So he could very much be what Laguna was to Squall, but this time Zack to Cloud. There will be two different performance modes in the game. There's the performance mode, which is 1080p 60 frames per second, and then the graphics mode, which will be 30 frames 4K. And everyone was saying that the 30 frames 4K looked really good. The 1080 60 performance mode wasn't fully optimized, so there was some issues, but it did run better than Final Fantasy XVI's performance mode, which I had a huge issue with. Everyone's saying that the game looks fantastic and is running really well, and it's pretty nice, especially considering this is a much older build of the game that people are playing. Now, getting on to exploration stuff as well as the story. So for the team, they are currently on the run and there has been a bounty placed on all of their heads. But one of the biggest things that was pointed out is that you can swim in this game. Maximilian Dude as well as Simmons, they were the first two people, according to Square Enix, that actually discovered the ability to jump into the water and swim like you could in games like Horizon or Ghost of Tsushima. So you're not really going to be limited in terms of going around and traversing around the field. So that is really cool. You do have things like auto traversal. So if you come across a rock, Cloud will climb over it. He can even climb up and down things as well. That was showcased in the Sephiroth and Cloud portion portion of the demo, there are no loading times when you're out in the open world. And according to Hamaguchi, the entire map is interconnected, meaning you can run or swim or ride your Chocobo from one end of the map all the way to the other like a true open world game. And just looking at this footage, it screams Horizon. I love the Horizon games, and you see Hamaguchi's love for Horizon in all of this footage, from how the areas look to even something as simple as items on the ground. You have the items on the ground with the line pointing up with the symbol that lets you collect them. You can collect all kinds of materials. You can collect things while you're riding your Chocobo, so you don't have to jump off and grab them, which was kind of annoying in Final Fantasy 16. You do have a world intel bot called Mai, and what she does is essentially give you information on the area that you're in, as well as information on your enemies, which is really cool. And speaking of enemies, there will be hunts in the game, notorious marks that you can track down and fight. And what's cool about these fights is that all of these battles have specific parameters that you can fulfill to get extra rewards. So things like pressuring the enemy, staggering the enemy, beating the enemy in a certain amount of time will net you specific rewards. And speaking of rewards, there are Chocobo babies across the map that you can pet. If you find these little guys, they will lead you to specific areas on the map that have benches that you can rest at, but also cool rewards. And you'll receive items like Chocobo plumes, which you can take to the, get this, Chocobo boutique and trade them in for equipment to customize your Chocobo. So it's very Ghost of Tsushima in that way, where in that game you came across foxes and birds that would lead you to specific areas that rewarded you with cosmetic items for your swords or bandanas. But that was a feature in Tsushima that I absolutely loved. When I came across a fox, I had to follow that little guy, I had to pet him, and I had to get my cool new sword kit. Now, they did state that there will not be any Chocobo breeding in this game. However, there's going to be a new system to catch wild Chocobos. They didn't go in depth with what that's going to be, but in the OG game, you came across Chocobos in battle, you fed them specific greens, you finished the enemies, and then boom, you had a Chocobo. So it sounds like it's going to be different in this game. Continuing with the Chocobos, there will be multiple gold saucer races and tracks for your Chocobos. And that Chocobo boutique we talked about just a minute ago, the equipment you get there to customize your Chocobo will change your Chocobo stats for these races. So there's incentive to find those little Chocobo babies, get the plumes, and trade them in for equipment on your Chocobo, because it makes your Chocobo chicken faster in these races. So they've really thought of a lot of things to invest time in, and nothing really feels like it's being half-assed. Now, getting to the party menu is very similar to Final Fantasy 15. So you pause the game, your characters are all displayed posing, you can see all of their stats. It's very similar to the one in 15, which I personally really loved. And if they're all standing there and you can see what they're wearing and what their stats are, it kind of makes me wonder if maybe there's going to be alternate outfits that we can show off for these characters, because that's how it worked in 15. You changed their outfits, the Chocobros were there posing, moving, you could see what they were wearing. It was a really cool feature, so crossing my fingers that maybe we get some alternate outfits in the game. There will be item crafting via the item transmuter. So all of the stuff you find around the world, some of the rewards you get, you can use to craft things that you're actually going to need, like potions and tents. And you even have to-do lists, which are kind of like jobs, where you have jobs to remind you to get certain items to craft certain abilities. And I think there's going to be bonus rewards for that crafting system as well via that job list, which again is very much like Horizon. In Horizon, you craft your ammo, your weapons, things for your gear and your armor, all of that great stuff. So I'm very happy that I'm somebody who loves the Horizon games and have been playing them the past couple of years. If you want a preview of what world exploration is going to be like in Rebirth and you want to actually play it, I highly recommend you check out Horizon Forbidden West. Fantastic game. I love the story, the world building, the exploration is top notch. I also really love the combat, even though that's kind of divisive to some people, but I'm a sucker for a good bow and arrow action game, and that is what Horizon does for me. Now, getting to combat, a lot of people are saying that combat is very similar to what was in Remake, but much more refined. And what's cool is you seem to have party loadouts. This was from Brad from Easy Allies. He pointed this one out specifically, saying that running around the world map, you had a specific loadout of characters that you could pick and choose from. So one party might have Cloud, Aerith, Tifa. The other makeup would be like Cloud, Red 13, Barret, and you could switch between those running around the world in real time. Now, here's a really big one that we all had questions about based on some of the trailers we saw. So you have your main party of characters, and what are the other characters going to be doing in battle? Well, they're going to still be assisting you in battle. So if you have a party of Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa, Barret and Red 13 will still assist you by fighting in battle. They'll do less damage, but they're still going to be there to help you out. And Maximilian Dude in particular noted that your characters have a slot in the menu for passive abilities. So it might be a situation where later on you gain some passive abilities, and if Barret is a passive participant in battle, he might have that specific ability that he can activate on his own while you're busy fighting the enemy. So it's nice to know that your other party members won't just disappear into the ether as your main party is doing battle. Everyone is going to be working together. And to that effect, Hamaguchi also confirms there is no PHS system in this game because your party will be acting as one, which is nice. Now, Max also pointed out that some of these synergy attacks have passive buffs, meaning one could be you do like Cloud and Aerith, for example, might do a synergy attack, and then Aerith suddenly has infinite NP for a brief amount of time, or you might do more damage. So that's super cool. And to build up your pips for those synergy attacks, it's basically just consuming ATB. So the more ATB you consume, the more you build up those pips for those synergy attacks. You also have non-synergy team up attacks that you can do at any given time that look super cool and flashy, and it's incentive to keep switching your party around and your different characters, because a lot of times in the OG 7 remake, as great as combat was, there were moments where you were just kind of running around as one character waiting for your ATB to fill up, and you weren't really doing anything. So now that you have these really cool flashy team ups that aren't synergy based that you can do whenever, that can really freshen up battle for a lot of people. And some of these synergy abilities include Bodyguard, which is Aerith and Cloud, where no matter where Aerith is on the map, Cloud will pop up and help her out in battle. And yes, there is the one a lot of us have been hoping for. Tifa and Cloud team up, she jumps on his sword, and he launches her towards the enemy, which is dope. Now, here's something that really got me. Every character has a built-in dodge and parry mechanic, so there's no materia anymore for dodging and parrying. It's all built into the characters, and I'm a sucker for a good parry system in a video game, and it looks sick. So every character, including Aerith, is going to be doing that, which is super quality of life in my opinion. Max mentioned that air combat does feel better in Rebirth compared to Remake, but some characters are much better than others when it comes to that. Tifa in particular can use her abilities now on enemies in the air, so she can jump up and use a focus strike or an overpower, and she still has her bread and butter combo of uppercut to dive kick, which is nice to see. Now, one thing that was pointed out in Max's gameplay, and this is super intriguing, is a piece of materia called auto weapon ability materia. And what this does is when you equip it to a character, it will allow them to automatically use weapon-based abilities without you having to switch to them or issue them the command, which a lot of people I think really liked. I know there were some people that liked controlling one character. They didn't like switching between party members and issuing commands. So now one character has this equipped. You don't really got to worry about issuing commands to them. They just kind of do their own thing. He also pointed out that there was combination materia. So there was a piece of materia that had fire and ice combined into one. So that's really handy. That's going to free up some materia slots for characters, but it's going to be interesting to see going forward if there's going to be more combination materia like that. He also pointed out one of these synergy attacks that Cloud and Sephiroth have called Counter Fire Magic, which is essentially like Clive's Heat Wave ability in Final Fantasy XVI, where you can nullify projectiles and then basically send back your own attack to the enemy. Hamaguchi and the developers also stated that there will not be a weapon skill tree. They have simplified the weapon enhancement system and reserved the skill tree stuff for the actual character skill tree, so that's how you're going to be building up your characters. Hamaguchi also stated that you will need to install both discs before you play, so there's not going to be any swapping of the discs. One disc will have 100 gigabytes of data and the other will have 50 gigabytes of data. And as far as I can tell, that's all of the preview stuff that was really pointed out by a lot of different reviewers and outlets, so I tried my best to combine everything together. Thank you to all of these wonderful people who shared this info with us, especially Max being so generous with different uploads. He's got more uploads coming talking about combat and exploration and stuff like that, but to see fans get their hands on Rebirth this early and just share with us how awesome it is fantastic. There's almost nothing negative about Rebirth, and this to me is the Final Fantasy game I've been waiting for and wanting for so long. Not to continue to harp on 16, but my honeymoon phase with 16 was very short, and when it ended, I took off those rose-colored glasses, and I had a lot of issues with that game. And all in all, it just really kind of let me down the more I thought about it. But seeing Rebirth and hearing about these previews and how much they packed into it, we're getting that open world, fun exploration, fun combat, deep character interaction game that we've all wanted. I also want to point that out real quick too before I end the video. The voice performances by Cody Christian and Tyler Hoechlin, who voiced Cloud and Sephiroth, are killer. Listening to Cody do a young Cloud, not Cloud, in the flashback is great. He has that pep in his step. He sounds super young. And Tyler is really bringing his Superman Clark Kent performance to Sephiroth. He's like that big brother Sephiroth, the good guy pre-Genova Snap Seth, which is really great to hear. And with that being said, I think the Tokyo Game Show panel we're going to get on Friday might be a bit redundant now because we pretty much have all of the important information already released. So we're still going to watch that panel and check it out. If anything new pops out from that panel, I will make sure to cover it. But other than that, it looks like we got everything we need with all of these previews. So that was a very long video. I apologize for the length, but if you made it to the end of the video, thank you for checking it out. I am Curious Corduroy. Let me know in the comments down below, what do you guys think so far of this Rebirth preview bonanza? Leave any of your thoughts in the comments down below. I will see you guys in the next video. Please remember to always be excellent to one another.